Hey, 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 hey. What do you say? It's the July tape. Um, Here we are once again, high on top of Mount Shasta. Visibility, however, isn't too good here. We've got several fires in the area. We had kind of like a real unusual rainstorm here last night, and it kind of started four fires on the left side of us, and we had four fires on the right side of us. That's us there doing summer camp in the valley. So I came up on top of the mountain to take some time and do the tape and say hello. I love you. Yay. And just kind of share. It's like I said, the July Stepping into Consciousness tape. And we've got a really good topic for us today. We're sort of like working on learning more about ourselves and understanding, the complexities of ourselves, yet in a very simple way. My position here on where I'm sitting is kind of close to the road, and so you may hear some traffic in the background as it goes by. I just thought I'd point that out to you. The mountain is packed, to say the least. There are people upon people upon people here. It's Charlie Tom's been doing his full moon sweats. I'm making this tape here in August. And even though it is the July tape, this was my first chance of making it. So the sweats are going on. It's a very magical time on the mountain. The summer camp is going on. It's a very magical time within the summer camp. When I do these tapes, I like to do them so that I'm charged and I'm happy and I'm excited. And I'm charged and I'm happy and I'm excited, but in a very quiet way. Kind of like a solemn type thing. So if I sound like solemn, that's me having fun, being solemn. I'm looking out and I'm discovering that we as human beings are multidimensional, but may not totally know that we are. We've learned to function on the physical plane, and we do this really well. I'd like to take some time out now to point different things out to you, to start familiarizing yourself with other avenues of yourself. It is time that we start getting into multi-dimensional understanding of ourselves. We've talked about our different bodies, our feeling bodies, and our consciousness, and our personalities. And now I would like us to start functioning in new ways, besides those that we've already worked with. Things such as, what do we do when we daydream? What really happens? I find that as I look at all these questions, there's one word that seems to underlie a lot of material. And I'd like to share that with you. And the word is trust. It's an unusual word because it has a lot of meanings that we don't always necessarily look for. Trust is one of those things that if you take a really good look at it, you'll notice that the things that you trust in may not be physical. We know how to get in our car and trust it to go. Maybe. So we have a form of trust. We know that when we come home at night, the house should be pretty much as we left it. Maybe. They're like physical forms of trust. These physical forms of trust are things that we work with day in and day out and learn to somewhat count on. We learn to count on the fact that the car is going to start. We're going to count on the fact that eventually sometime tonight we'll run into a person who we really like. It may be our mate or a friend or just a call to a friend. The trust that I'm looking for this time, that I'd like to explain, however, is something deeper. It's something that cannot be explained on the physical plane. It is a word and it is an experience that puts us in a position to believe in ourselves other than what we can physically prove. It is a unique word because it can blend the physical and the non-physical. We, through our lifetime, have learned to trust ourselves. We've learned to trust ourselves by doing things through repetition and understanding how that works. But we've also learned to trust our intuition. We've also learned to trust a knowingness. We have learned to trust different things that we cannot necessarily mechanically see. We have learned to listen to our inner voice. We have learned to play a hunch. All of these things require certain levels of trust from us. Trust is a word that therefore starts to incorporate other dimensional activities. We trust that we're going to get up in the morning. That's trusting in God, trusting in some sort of creative power. A knowing within that there is something else beyond the physical world. I notice that when we trust, we look inside of ourselves and we run through a lot of things in our head. We try to see if we can get things to fit in physically. We try to understand how things work out. We also look to see if there's that feeling that we can sort of count on when we trust a whole situation. We learn to somehow listen to the brain but go on feelings, knowingness, and repetition in performance. And then there is a deepening within that we can trust some sort of inner knowing that we will come out on the other end. Trust, therefore, starts to bridge form and non-form. It starts to go between God and man. It is a sense that we as people understand, and God as the creative non-form can produce, because it can give us feelings, knowing, intuition, all of these things. I'm repeating myself so that it begins to sink in. In ourselves, as a human being, we also have a subconscious. Now, the subconscious is something that we've learned how to trust in. Sometimes we get an inner feeling or an inner knowing. We have to check in. Can I trust the subconscious? Am I interpreting this right? Is this really clear? In the conscious mind, trust is also capable of functioning quite easily. Yes, I can hear what my thoughts are based on what I've physically seen on this material, but what's that feeling like that would probably let me know for sure if I could really do this? As I looked at trust and observing what it is that I've been really putting a lot of attention to here lately, as in my teaching form, which is stay in present time, I know that trust is something that brings me into present time, because while I am using trust, I am bridging the dimensions. I am going from physical to divine, divine to physical, physical to divine. I am counting on an inner communion with something higher than myself that my physical body cannot explain. And I'm trusting. In every moment in time, if you can trust, you will discover that instead of just having one or two picks as to how it should go based on your free will and your awareness, you have a zillion picks. And you allow yourself to trust in every given moment that you are going to do the right thing. And you can change at any given moment, do any different thing that you want. Just hang out, trusting that it's just going to be perfect, and that the highest thought is what will be attained. When you go into this kind of trust, you're beginning to get into the cradle or the lap of God. You are beginning to tune into something outside of yourself, and yet it is not. It's been there, and it's been you the whole time. You are a multidimensional being capable of doing more things than just one. Now, I may shift here a little bit in material because I want to do this to pull all of these pieces together. Staying in the present moment is definitely a trust issue, because it's so familiar and it's so easy to go into the future or the past, because we're either projecting ourselves into the future with anticipations and expectations, or we're into blame by criticizing the past and all of the other things that we should have and could have done. In present time, we're trusting on the flow. In the future and the past, we're trusting on repetition of things that we've done. They're mechanical. So I began to notice that my trust goes more into a divine understanding, and when I'm staying in present time. Now, you've heard me talk about present time a lot of time. Now what I want to talk about is daydreams once again here. Daydreams, daydreams, daydreams. I would like to point out that when you are daydreaming, you will notice that other things are happening than just the mind mechanically functioning. You will notice that in a daydream there is a feeling. There is like somewhat of a euphoria. There is a total escape of all linear logic. And there is that, ever so beautiful essence in which you can maneuver things to get the most fun out of a daydream. Also, most of you will notice that when the daydream is over, you are back into this reality, and you knew you were daydreaming. It's like a shift in dimension, a changing of consciousness, an altering of time. If you try to go back to a daydream after somebody interrupts you, you'll notice you can't quite find the pictures, the feelings, and the illusion that you were working with. I now would like to point out to you that daydreaming is being in present time in the subconscious, because you haven't learned how to bring it into the conscious just as of yet. And trusting is the way you're going to be able to do that. You are going to start working on yourself so that you can bring your daydreams into a conscious form, and you are going to be able to use them in a creative way so that you can fulfill your highest thought or a divine picture. You're going to learn how to trust within inside of yourself that whatever it is that you are that you are in communion with is basically just your higher self, and that you're going to learn how to get this communication up. Daydreaming is really being in present time, only you're just unconscious of it. Have you also noticed that when you're daydreaming, you got pictures in your head? See, you could be working or doing a job, but when you're daydreaming, it's sort of like when you're driving the car and you forget where the car's at, and then all of a sudden you just come back. See, if you don't remember driving the car, and if you don't remember the way that you got to where you were at, therefore, when you were daydreaming, you were in another world, and therefore you were seeing another dimension. You were picturing on the screen in your mind all of the things that you were daydreaming with, or at, or about. And physical vehicle was also still capable of functioning through habit by driving the car. Then all of a sudden you come back into your body and you're going, oh, now, we're multidimensional beings. I want you to start noticing that when you start to daydream, you start functioning with pictures in your mind, in your consciousness, in your essence. And I want you to consciously start seeing that. I want you to start trusting yourself when you get out into the daydream and bringing it into a conscious awareness. I want you to get into I want you to get into understanding how to See just what part you can trust with inside of yourself and what part, and this is strange, you cannot trust with inside of yourself. I want you to refine the trusting factor that is within you so that you can get a communication up between the divine, which is the Father, and you, the personality, which is the Son. The third person, this intermediary, I want you to start getting it to function fuller, more consciously. When you're daydreaming, I want you to be fully awake. I want you to trust that you can do this. I want you to start practicing, and let's face it, we all know how to daydream, and we all do this. You're all out there working on getting in the present time. Well, let's start taking those parts of getting in the present time that we don't pay that much attention to, and that's the daydreams. When you're in a pleasant daydream, and I might add, you only have pleasant daydreams because you're glorifying yourself, the higher self. And when you glorify the higher self in a daydream, you will notice that you think very pleasantly of yourself, and you are capable of extraordinary feats and great amounts of wisdom and unique changings in the character of man and the planet. All of these things are a form of training, a learning, and a new way of perceiving yourself and the selves that you are. It is increasing the ambidexterity, if that's a word, dexterity, I think, and ambidextrous is the two words I threw together to make that. I want you to start functioning consciously on the other levels. I want you to start becoming conscious on the other levels. Why? Because you're God. And God eventually starts to pay attention to the other levels that are functioning also during the conscious time. The moments where we slip away, and we need not slip away. If we want to slip away, let us remember this slipping away consciously, and let's allow all of our other body parts and non-body parts to enjoy it through a conscious feeling. I thought I'd just throw like a little promo in now about God, just in case you forgot you were. I would like to encourage you to trust yourself that you're God. I would like you to trust your personality, that within the vastness of itself, it knows that it's God, and it can trust that, and it can start to function with a little more clarity, because it is now conscious of being aware of itself on more levels. I would like you to trust your godness in the fact that whatever it is that you say, think, or do is what is going to come back to you. And that the world, as you look at it, is basically a mirror showing you who you are and what you're doing. I'd like to praise the God that you are for staying with yourself and knowing that beyond all the things that we say and talk about, like families and cars and houses, there's something deep inside of us that drives us in such a way to amplify that God divinity that we are. So I guess I'm taking a commercial break for God just to thank you, gods, for trusting yourself enough to step out there and acknowledge what you've really felt inside of yourself. You're part of the whole. You are part of the whole. Nothing greater than or less than. If you have a picture that God is on the top and you're on the bottom, wrong picture. God told you you were made to its image. You are made to God's image. God would never create something less than himself. I mean, common sense dictates that. Would you want something less than yourself? You may settle for things sometimes that are less than what you're willing to believe in yourself, but you know that perhaps a little later, in a different time perhaps, you'll achieve what it is that you're looking for. So the key being, there is nobody at the top. There is nobody at the bottom. We're all whole. We're one wholeness. Nothing greater than or less than. God is equal to us. That's why He created us in its image. Its image. Equal. Not less than. Not, you're created in my image, except you can't create. It just said in its image and likeness. And that nothing is greater than or less than. And so I want to honor you for daring to stretch yourself and accept yourself as part of the whole and an equal to the creative force. That's an attribute of unconditional love, to love yourself enough to realize that you are whole. Wholeness resides in you. You are the whole. Nothing is greater than or less than the whole. You need to trust within that idea. I trust in you guys. I've trusted in the fact that if you worked on yourself in certain ways, your divinity was going to wake up. Now all you have to do is look at yourself. You trusted within something, a feeling perhaps that felt, this is going to help you, this is going to work for me, this is going to inspire me, and then you did these things. Well, was your trust okay? Did you place your trust in the right position? Did you grow? When you trusted yourself, were you coming from a physical plane, from the mental plane, from a subconscious plane, from a state of knowing, from an intuitive state? Like, where did you trust yourself? Was it a feeling? Was it intuition? Was it knowing? And then you trusted something, brought it down on the physical plane, worked it on the physical plane, manifested on the physical plane, trusting that it would pay off. You trust in all of the techniques that you do, hoping in that trust that you have found the right combination between form and non-form. And within this trust, once you start gaining this trust, you can start having a grander life, a greater life, an understanding of the totality, of the wholeness that we are, rather than bits and pieces of tunnel vision as we think this is our world, a family, and then this is a world, our house, and then this is a world, a car, and then this is our world, the world, because it's polluted. And we have to see ourselves as the wholeness all the time, that godness all the time. We need to trust in those things. We need to look, to be aware that it's all happening. I guess I'm somewhat giving you an exercise, and the exercise in all of this is that I want you to, when you daydream, check out your subconscious. I want you to delve into it. I want you to consciously remember all of the essences that are happening while you are daydreaming. I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to be aware of it. Be in the state of beingness. Let the third person start to observe yourself, itself, as it learns how to function in another level other than the physical. And stay in present time. Putting all of these things together in a form of trust is kind of the thing that I would like you to do then. To trust yourself, to trust in yourself, to trust everything about yourself. Trust that you're a worthy human being. Trust that you're God. Trust that you're divine. Trust, 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 trust. Repetition, trust. Repetition, trust. Repetition, trust. I just love this. Stay with it. This is a unique lesson. I don't usually go, well, okay, this is what I want you to do. But this is really what I want you to do. I want you to pay attention. I want you to be aware of all the times that you daydream within a day. I want you to get on it. Now, here is the next exercise that I want you to do. This is almost like a homework tape. I said that in an angelic voice so that it would work. I want you to start thinking about God, you, and whatever it is that you imagine this to be continuously. What does that mean? That means that it's time to get up a major communication in a big way with this intermediary, also acting as if you're the intermediary talking to God. In other words, there's not going to be you talking to the intermediary, talking to God. There's going to be you and your higher self blending together and trusting to see your totality. That's what you're going to be doing. Every every minute of the day, start telling yourself that you're God. See your divinity. See your clarity. See your innocence. See everything that there is to see about you. Grow yourself. Test yourself. Work on yourself. These are the things that I would like you to do then. Okay, that's this side of the tape. I'm going to shoot over to the other side. I want you to get all your mental notes down because this is what you're going to do. The other side of the tape may, however, be a little different because I'm finding that I'm really complete on this material, and I'll probably do the other taping on the other side tomorrow with something new and more exciting. Well, not more exciting, because remember that I catch you, nothing is greater than or less than. God is not at the top and you are not at the bottom. You are all created in like image. We are all divine. We are all physical. We are all working in different ways to understand how that all works together. Thank you. I will now see you on the other side. Just kind of fast forward it. Bye now.